That should work. You want the mic? You want the mic?
No, I speak loud enough. I'll open up with a word of prayer.
Please. Okay, we ready to start?
All right, we're going to open up with a word of prayer. Will you bow with me? Almighty Father in heaven, we thank you so much for what you do for us every day, and the things we see and the things that are unseen that you are behind. We thank you for your love and for this effort that we're doing right now. Help us to be mindful of your desire for us to reach out and to help others and to meet you and be with you forever. Thank you for Mike and his efforts that he's doing here. May you bless him and his wife as they are here and as they travel back home. Thank you, God, for your wonderful love, and may we do good things here for your kingdom. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you. All right, thanks for all coming back. You never know, after you've performed one night or tried to facilitate, who'll show up the next day. But maybe even one or two of you may have brought a friend. I don't know, but maybe not. Anyway, any thoughts? So again, I'm a facilitator. I'm your servant. Any thoughts and reflection on last night? You still feel good about the 4 goals you selected? Okay, good. I do too. In fact, yeah.
Sorry, one thing that did come up in our discussion was, I guess, and maybe I'm sure it's probably been a question in places you've been before, is the question of women maybe being a goal owner.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something that's come up before?
Yeah, almost all the time. And so for me, again, that's your decision. That's why I said last night, what most congregations have settled in on is a couple, husband and wife, being the goal owner. But the goal owner is not usurping any authority over a man, right? They're doing a coordination function. And so for me, it doesn't matter. For me, the male headship and it's talking about in the family and in worship. You're not leading other men if you're coordinating an effort. So I don't see anything wrong. In fact, somebody asked me that last night, and I told an example. One congregation we worked with, and by the way, you guys seem to have a lot of energy, and that really helps me. Even though I'm just facilitating, you have energy. We've been to a lot of places that don't. And one congregation we went to, they didn't even know each other, and they weren't much bigger than you guys. Their whole goal, I think they picked maybe 2, but their main goal was to get to know each other. They picked a really gregarious woman to coordinate the efforts, and she came up with calendars, and she had every family a rotation. They were going to every week go out to lunch with a different family or be in the home of a different family, and then she published a calendar for every kid's sporting event. So all the church was going to their everybody's soccer games, and everybody. I mean, it was just they really got to know each other. She was the exact right goal owner. She was reporting to a group of elders that gave her a budget and told her what to do, and she was coordinating a team. So for me, I don't think that mattered. But this is your congregation. That's my insight, that it doesn't matter if you're really concerned about it. Have a husband and wife team do it, or male. Yeah.
Well, it would depend whether there's any teaching involved for one in these particular endeavors. But the other thing we talked about was in terms of 4 goals or 3, some of us were talking about maybe we could incorporate one of them into 3 and focus our energies and prayers on those.
So I have a
trying to spread out the resources.
Yeah, if you're comfortable with the 4 you have, I do have a suggestion this morning. And I didn't know last night how active you'd been at already trying to get elders in place.
About a year.
Yeah, you've already been, that's pretty active.
Yeah.
And I think Jesse's been leading you through that, right? So my thought overnight, and I thought about this and prayed about it, I really felt like maybe Jesse ought to be the goal owner of this, and I give him some materials that he can use in development, and you just focus today on 3 goals on developing action plans. How's that strike you if Jesse's the goal owner?
Sure, I think that's a great idea.
He's already
That's why I
deep.
didn't put a dot.
He's already deep in.
Yeah, okay. All right, so we got our first goal owner. Yay!
He takes it to heart.
He shook his head. Man, just, it takes this much of a nod.
Accept this challenge.
Yeah, don't. Be careful how much you nod. Now, just to give you folks, you could spend a big part of your day developing an action plan for this, but we've already got it. We've done this a lot with Sunset, and so I'd like to just give the goal owner, but I don't want to just give him stuff without telling you what I'm doing. So I don't know if you can see this, but what we recommend is you have a leadership development plan for an individual. Do many of you work in companies or places where you have an employee development plan? Okay, only for 40 years I did that. Every year I had an employee development plan, what I'm going to do. How many of you seen a leader development plan or a spiritual development plan for the church? So not many places do it. So I'm going to encourage you to have a leader development plan. And a big part of that is, what's my goal 5 years from now as a leader? Should I be just a leader of my family? Should I be a leader of a deacon? Should I be an elder? We need to develop leaders. And this is some of the stuff I'm going to give to Jesse. And one thing I believe in are these leadership assessments. And there's a bunch of different ones out there. This is one I believe in, I put together. But
Hey, Mike,
you go through characteristics.
magnifying glass on the right height so we can see the frame a little bit.
Okay, sure. So, and I can go more. If I get a yay for that, I'm going to just keep going, yeah? Till you, okay. Anyway, this is about leader competencies, and I'll give all this material, but if you're a leader, you've got to lead by example. You've got to have integrity and humility. There's interpersonal skills, and I recommend people do a self-assessment. And this is where I think I'm at. And then somebody like Jesse work with you on, that's not exactly where you see you on this. Or, yeah, that's where you are, and you want to be here. How do we fill that gap? And then I've got mechanisms. I believe in, how you do training and how you get people moved to the next level. I think there's formal training involved. I think there's self-improvement involved. And then I think there's actual in-role work, like you get a project that you practice leadership in. So I'll give all this. I think it's, instead of you recreating an action plan for something that we've got all this material for, I'd prefer just to give it to Jesse and let him lead you through it, and he'll build whatever team he wants to build, okay? All right, and then, just one other guy. There's another guy, Aubrey Johnson's written probably 30 books on this. He's a minister at the Old Hickory Church of Christ in Nashville. And he's got what he calls the leadership development pipeline. This is not my stuff, but I've got a bunch of Aubrey stuff, and anything we have, is yours. We don't want to, there's no pride of ownership of any of this stuff. So I'll email you all this stuff, okay, Jesse? All right, so if you're cool with that, then we'll get back into the real development of the action plan for today. And one other thing I want to say on these goals, I heard a lot of passion about some of these that didn't get to be the top votes. I think I may have said it last night, but that doesn't mean the group didn't think they were important. Lisa limited you to 3 votes. I wanted you to have more. But Lisa said they can only have 3 votes. Yeah, one of you did have 4. That was paying favoritism to somebody maybe. But anyway, what I would encourage you, particularly, we had this happen, I don't know, the last church we were at, the last congregation. I say congregation and church interchangeably. I hope you know there's one church, right? I know that. But the women felt like they were underserved in that community and in that church. And so they didn't pick that as a goal, but they had a goal of all members growing spiritually. And they put all kinds of women's action plans, and they volunteered. And even that, we heard that next week, they already had, they had a luncheon that week. And they got all in on helping grow women spiritually. So that doesn't mean these things aren't important. To be a world-class online presence is going to be required if you're going to double your size.
I was going to point that.
Okay.
A lot of these things will lead to those goals. And these other
Exactly.
goals can be incentivizers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So don't be disappointed if somebody, members discipling others. I don't see how you can be growing spiritually if you're not discipling somebody else. Our sister asked last night about why this didn't get more votes. I don't know the answer other than I'm hoping you were thinking you can fit that in under a bigger category. So, okay. Any other thoughts on the goals, or we're gonna talk about action plans? How do you develop an action plan? And should happen today is you should be able to develop an action plan for all 3. And as we develop the action plan, I'm going to ask you to suggest who should be the goal owner, and then what are some specific actions you should accomplish. So let me talk a little bit first, though. Let me ask you to read a parable. When the unclean spirit has gone out of a person, it passes through waterless places seeking rest, but finds none. Then it says, I will return to the house from which I came. And when it comes, it finds the house empty, swept, and put in order. Then it goes and brings with it 7 other spirits more evil than itself. And they enter and dwell there, and the last state of that person is worse than the first. What's our Savior telling us there?
You need to clean the house, but then fill it up with good things.
Don't leave it void.
Exactly. No
It's a vacuum.
vacuums or voids are terrible, aren't they? Just lead to bad things happening. So that's the lesson. A lot of congregations yes.
Oh, I was just going to say, he's reminding us that we're
Morning.
in a spiritual warfare.
Spiritual
And
warfare?
These are our enemies, part of them.
Yeah.
And, they don't have a place to go. They had bodies at one time, but now they don't. Destroyed in the flood. But so they're seeking somewhere to reside and experience those wrongful pleasures again.
Yeah. So the several congregations we worked with, and I really want your pushback if something doesn't make sense. Several congregation people have said, this all sounds too business-like or businessy to me, and we just need to have sound preaching from the pulpit and we'll grow, which isn't that a lot of pressure on the ministers, right? Everything's that revolves around the minister and what they do. And so I use this parable just to defeat any of those thoughts, because our Savior says we can't just keep bad teaching out. We have to fill with good. And the commentators say this really goes back to the Jewish people, Jesus is talking to, that they had largely managed to quit worshiping wood and stone idols. And did they fill it up with taking care of their neighbor and the widows and orphans? No, they filled that space with ceremonial hand washings and lots of other rules that weren't part of God's plan. So we have to fill our houses with good. And two congregations we've worked with, one particular had just done a fantastic job. They built $2.5 million church building, debt-free. That was their goal. They'd worked on that goal for 5 years. They achieved that goal. And then within a month of moving in, people started complaining about the chairs, and they started being little arguments about who chose those chairs and the size of the classrooms. And then the hall tables were in the way, and then how they greeted their guests. And so I get this call from the elders and ministers, can you come like tomorrow? Something's happened. We have lived with a goal and seen everybody pulling in the same direction. We're living without it now, and we don't know who these people are. So anyway, they got goals set and they're off and running, but they had the ability to see the contrast. Not all of us do. You may not even know what you're missing, but by you doing the work last night to set goals, it will really help you to be more aligned and pulling in the same direction and not let the bad stuff creep in. Several congregations we've worked with, one particularly uses the phrase, when there's something a disagreement, they'll say, does this matter at the foot of the cross? I mean, we're doing a great work, like Nehemiah said, we can't come down, right? We're working on this goal, and don't get caught up in that. And I would show you, so we got to fill our house with good. Great job. That sometimes it takes a couple minutes for people to get that. You got it in like 30 seconds or 10 seconds. So this is a congregation we worked with in Missouri, and they took this goal ownership thing to, we've seen it several times, but the colors and stuff, I think they took it to another level. What they have along the outside, I don't know if you can tell, but there were 3 goal owners there, and they each built a team that had 5 or 6 subtasks to achieve the goal. And they each they had a fiesta luncheon, and everybody in the congregation came, and they got recruited to work on one of those goal teams under one of those initiatives. And so before they were completed that day, they had about 100 people working on one of those initiatives. They signed up, they had sign-up sheets, and they were selling. It's like a career fair. They were selling that this is the goal you want to work on. Don't you want to be part of this? And there was something for everybody when they had 50 different tasks that could be taken on, something for everybody. And you could do that in your downstairs. If you had 3 goals and, between Bible study and worship sometime or after church or something, let people know the goal owners should be selling what they're working on. And then obviously we got to commit all of our plans to the Lord. He says they'll be established. All right, so we got your 5-year goal. What we want to talk about, and I'll have a little cheat sheet for you to fill out in a minute, but we want to talk about annual objectives. Having a 5-year goal without checking how you're doing along the way is not going to be very successful. So we're going to ask you to think about, what does that mean for a year? What do we need to do in 2026? You're approaching the end of the year, so let's get ready for 2026. What's our objective? And then what are you going to do tomorrow? What are the action plans that I need to take care of starting tomorrow to work on? And we're going to distribute the assignments. The goal owners are just supposed to coordinate. You need a lot of team of people to do work. And I'm going to use the term racy. I'll talk about it in a minute. And these values we talked about yesterday and you did in your other session should be your habits. Okay, so action plans are the initiatives. So you've got where you're at today, you've got a goal, and you got to fill up that gap between there with action plan steps. What are the initiatives that are going to get you to meet that goal? And racy is the term I use to distribute who's responsible. So the terminology is racy. Every role is important. The accountable, I'll put your eyes on it for a minute. Accountable means that's who's ultimately responsible and they're empowered to do the work. The buck stops here. That's the accountable person. So that in our process would be the goal owner. Now then, that goal owner is going to build a team and people are going to be responsible for specific acts within achieving that goal. Okay, so that's responsible. And the term consult means the responsible party has been asked by their team to consult with people. They're still responsible, but they've been asked to check in and get some ideas from that person. That person has some knowledge. And then the I is inform. You inform, and I would suggest you should be informing maybe the whole congregation or at least this leadership group. And this is how that looks. I only got a snippet of the spreadsheet, but you know what I want you to think about today, and I'll give you flip charts. At least I'll give you flip charts where you can. My little pointer not working? Yeah. What I do?
Oh, he's trying to use the laser. The laser doesn't work on the TV.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, the 5-year goal. I'll give you a flip chart. I'm going to ask you to fill out when we break up into groups in a minute. And then who the goal owner you suggest would be, what your current situation is, and then I think you ought to talk about this macro needs. Like on this goal of 200 members, you want to get started, but then in the back of your mind, you need to be ready. Do we plant another church? Do we get a new building? What do we do if we really are seeing success along the way? And then, so for this one, at the end of 2028, they said in 5 years, they're going to know who, they're going to have weekly and monthly trainings for the community. So like every month, and maybe even every week, they were going to have a goal of having the community in their building for a training session of some kind. That was their 5-year goal. It was going to take a lot of work to get there. So they had to plan each year what they were going to get done. So that's what we're going to ask you to do. Make a plan. At the end of each year, what should you be seeing? And then the specific action plans, like these are what we call the action plan initiatives or priorities. They've got different steps, and a different person's agreed to be responsible for getting those things done. And then consult and inform. I just couldn't make it fit on the slide, but consult and inform. You say who you're going to consult with, who's going to be informed in the spreadsheet. Does this make sense? And the reason you want to do this, you want to be clear who's empowered to do what. And when things are going well, everybody wants to help, right? And you sometimes get too much help. And when things aren't going well, you can't seem to find anybody that's in charge. We don't want to have that confusion. We want to know who's accountable, who's responsible. And there may be a time when something's going really well that somebody tries to tell you what to do if you're a responsible party. And this gives you the ability to say, look, my group made me the responsible party. I appreciate your input, but I'm going to, and I will consult with you, but I'm going to go in this direction. It gives you the power to say I'm the responsible party. You see how that could be helpful? Okay.
What if that person's your elder?
What's that?
What if that person is your elder?
Well,
That says, I think you should go in this direction.
well, they're the ones that told you you're responsible. Now, again, we don't have elders today, but and you would want to listen. They're your overseers, but this is really important. Maybe I'll use this question as an important way to talk about what being empowered means. When you're told to be accountable for something or responsible for something, we really have messed up this term empowerment in our society, in our workplace, and in our churches. People think empowerment means I'm just going to go leave you alone. I want to make sure I don't micromanage you. What you've done there is set them up to fail. Empowerment means you give people boundaries. It may be counterintuitive, but when you empower somebody, you give them boundaries to operate in, and then if they're operating within those boundaries, you leave them alone. You encourage them. And when I say leave them alone, I didn't really even mean that. I don't know why that came out, because if you leave somebody alone, if you're working on an important project, what do you think they're doing? They're saying it's not important. So you still want to encourage and check in if they're empowered, but give them boundaries. And so an eldership's giving you a boundary as the accountable goal owner. You're operating within those boundaries. You've got a right to push back. So this is I'm just operating within the boundaries. Now, why this is so important to me, you don't have elders and deacons here yet, but of course, across our brotherhood, every congregation that has had them have had almost all the deacons quit that were at one point involved. And what happens is, the deacon thinks they were empowered to go do some work. They weren't given any boundaries. They did something that maybe an elder or another minister might not have done. somebody criticizes them and nobody has their back. That's happened countless times. That's why we have a leadership void in our brotherhood, I believe, a big part of it. So you're the leaders for this congregation. If somebody is operating, you've made them the goal owner, somebody's been responsible, you've given them boundaries, a budget, what you want to see done as a team, and then somebody else criticizes what they're doing, what do you say? They're working within their boundaries. They got our full support. What happens today is people feel the urge to, Johnny, I wonder why they did that. Right? Don't really, I don't think I would have done it that way either.
Where were you when we were asking for help?
But that's how people give up. That's how people quit. You're not going to let that happen. Somebody's doing the work of the Lord here, doing what you've asked them to do. You got their back, is the way I describe it. There's probably better ways to say it. But you're not going to let somebody criticize them, are you? Don't join in it for sure. Okay, good question. So, all right, you will get a solid track record of developing these kind of action plans. So I'd like to see us get in our groups now. Are you guys, I don't care how the groups are. I think what's going to work best is we break up into groups. I give you an assignment, and then we're going to give you some flip chart paper to fill out. And I'm going to suggest that some of you, you really, I'm going to ask you to present your ideas to the whole group. One of your members or two of your members come up here of each group, come up and present. It's going to work best if you can fill out with flip chart markers. So I'm going to suggest maybe some of your groups convene down in the basement where you got a table to write on. And we're going to give you about 30, 45 minutes to actually develop an action plan. Are some of you comfortable with presenting to the broader group your ideas? This works out great each time. So let me ask you to get in groups up here still. And it doesn't have to be the ones you were yesterday, or it could be, but it seemed to work out like 2 men's groups and we're 3 women's groups, right?
Yeah.
We may have a few. It seems like a fewer people today, so it may be 2 of each, yeah.
So are these groups related to our priorities? Or
No. So I should have said this. What we want to do is we want to pick one of these goals to start with. You should have time today for the whole congregation to develop an action plan for each of the 3 goals. Now, this is your workshop, so what I think works best is if we have 3 different sessions where you guys talk. Which one do you want to start with? Which goal do you want to start working on? This has by far the highest votes, the 200 members.
Start with that.
Is it okay to start with that?
Or what if we start with the lowest one to practice so that we can get good?
That's a really good idea.
And I think some of the other ones, are gonna help that one grow. You know what I'm saying? Developing the growing spiritually and that sort of thing, I think that will lead to more people.
Okay.
Will lead to that 200.
Anyway, do you want to start? Which one do you want to start with? It doesn't matter because you should be able to.
Good at it.
You're going to be
You guys
all
were
3.
Good yesterday.
You're going to be good right off the bat, I think. But
About all members growing spiritually.
is that okay? All right. Let's just say we start with that one. That got a lot of votes, and let's say we're going to start with that. Now, here's your 2 options. You could say, I want to spend hours just talking about this, and then somebody else wants to focus on this one, but that'll come later in the day. We're going to let you focus on the ones that you feel more passionate about. I think it works best if everybody, all the groups present their different ideas on how to achieve this, and then we kind of merge them a little bit. And then at maybe 10:30, everybody presents on another one, and we merge them. And then later in the day, after you've heard all the ideas, you can decide which one you want to be more a part of. Is that okay?
Sounds like a plan.
Okay. I think that's what worked best.
It really comes together. You'll see.
Yeah, you're good. You're going to do great. So-
I'm excited to see what you guys come up with.
Now, in this all members growing spiritually, one of the key things is how you would assess if people are growing spiritually, right? We've probably had 10 congregations pick that as a goal, and so I've got a bunch of different assessments they developed. So If you're worried how to assess it, I'll show some on the screen maybe if you'd like. If you're working downstairs, you want to come up and look at what they look like, I'll put some on the screen. But just to kind of assume you're going to have a way to measure it. That you're going to and you're going to recommend probably that they do some self-assessment annually and see how they're doing, because that's the only way to really measure if people are moving.
Are we coming up with ideas on how to?
How to grow spiritually, and that's what
This is the ice cream machine part.
Yeah, now's the how. All night last night, people wanted to
That's
do.
the way to do it, the ice cream machine.
Yeah. That should be on your list. The how. That poor guy. I've told that story so many times. It's, and you know what? When we got to the how, he'd forgotten about it.
That wasn't the end goal?
No, he'd forgotten about it. Anyway, this developing action plans is not straightforward for people necessarily, so we need to think about doing it. And I recommend the way you think about developing an action plan is you get in your group and you just brainstorm. Just do a big brain dump of all the ideas you have about what would help people grow spiritually, and then come back later and think about the ones you want to really get behind. And when you're brainstorming, if you're in a group and somebody blurts out just an idea, please do not say, we tried that before, or we don't want to do that. That doesn't make any sense. Just let the brainstorming flow, because you will kill any brainstorming if you say something negative about an idea. If I could give you one little tip for this kind of life, working with fellow Christians, don't say but much anymore. Just try say and. When somebody gives you an idea, but we tried that 8 years ago, but I don't think we've got the money for that. But, please, just when they give an idea, give an and. Oh, and we could do this too. And, okay? This will help you from an action planning. Now, let's get in your groups real quick so Lisa can give you paper, and I'm going to ask you one other assignment before I let you start your work. Let's get in groups.
There's a sticky part on the back. You're going to write so that can stick on the wall and people can work from it. Which color marker would you like? Okay.
All right, let's get in our groups.
Here's one for your group.
Thank you.
You feel rather good.
Blue. Okay, yeah, but he's gonna talk to us first again. He's gonna talk to us again. And we need
Yeah, sit down in your group. Sit down in your groups just for a minute, and then I'm going to give you one little assignment, and then I'm going to ask you to get to work. But one thing we found in doing these workshops, this action planning is not really second nature to people. The idea of brainstorming and then reordering things. And so one little exercise we found to be really helpful is I give you 2 minutes to write down all the steps to change a tire. You got a flat tire. What are the steps to change it? And on the next slide, I've got the right answer. Okay? But what I found is if people will brainstorm really quickly, what are the steps? You miss a few along the way. You get them out of the wrong order, but then you can always come back later and order them if you'll kind of write them. So somebody make a note, be a note taker, just kind of quickly write down the steps to change a tire. Take a couple minutes, and all you guys that act like you, yeah. Don't call AAA, anything like that. All right, so let's quickly, just 2 minutes. You got 2 minutes. What's the first step?
Break the mud loose.
Yeah, what's the first step? Somebody writing it down?
Stop the car.
Anybody writing down? Okay, stop the car. Yeah, let's go. Somebody start writing. What's the first step?
I gave you that big picture.
Hopefully the spare tire.
Oh, I need to write on one.
And you get this big fat one. Although,
Yeah.
make sure it doesn't go through.
I'll
You
do
can
it.
go through on these.
I think I'll do this here.
Yeah, put it down on the ground before you talk. Get them as tight as you can.
I think we got it.
Yeah.
2 minutes up. Now what?
All right. All right, who's done? Who got it all right? How many steps?
How many steps?
Well,
We didn't write it down.
you
We had it all done in 30 seconds.
Oh, okay. No, that's okay. How many steps?
How many steps? We have I have like 12 or 13.
Good. Oh, come on in, please. How many, did you guys get a few steps? How many steps did you guys get? 10. Okay. All right, here's the right answer according to Bridgestone Firestone. How many of you turned on your hazard lights? All these.
We don't need hazard lights. We were in the middle of a desert.
Did anybody chalk the wheels?
You don't need that either.
So the thing, if I would actually write it down before I change the tire, I would get the step that you loosen the lug nuts before you lift it up. But unfortunately, I always lift it up and then I have to loosen the lug nuts, and it's too late. So, but do you get the idea? I was trying to create a little energy for you. Just brainstorm a bunch of steps on how you get everybody growing spiritually. And here's the template we're going to ask you to present back. You know, who should be the goal owner? What are some actions we need to take? And do you want to suggest somebody would be responsible for some of those actions? And by when? And by the end of the day, we want you to be able to fill this out. Now, you don't have to necessarily fill it out this morning. For this goal, we want you to list a bunch of actions. And I'd like to see you come back together in, say, 30 minutes. I'll be checking in with you to see how you're doing. And then let me ask you to sell your ideas to the whole group. And I'm confident there's so much brain power in here, there'll be different ideas come from all different parts of the room. Okay? All right, so if you will, start talking among yourselves and either here or down in the basement. And, you know, we need these flip charts with some ideas so that you can present to the group.
So our flip chart's supposed to look like that?
Right now, this is what we're going to shoot for by the end of the day. If you just start with actions this morning, let's just really just focus on actions and then who might be responsible, and also who should be the goal owner. It looks like we're going to have to nominate somebody. I haven't had anybody just say, I want to own this goal yet. Okay? All right, I'll get with you in about 30 minutes. Really put some energy in. What does it look like to grow spiritually? You know, a key action is to have a spiritual assessment that you all agree with, right?
So these are we're just doing the actions.
Yep.
How we're going to do it.
And who should be the goal owner? Oh, all right. Rich?
You were suggesting last night that,
Hold on just a minute. One more minute, please. All right.
I'm sorry, you were saying last night that if somebody was already an elder, you didn't think they should be a goal owner?
Yeah, that's generally a good rule, but you know, they're not an elder now, and maybe they could, once they became an elder, they might hand it off.
Okay. All right.
I don't know.
Questions.
It's a fair point. Rich volunteered to be a goal owner for this. How do you guys feel about that? Because from Jesse's question, he's probably a prospective elder.
Yeah, well, and even with one of the other goals we've got, you know, I think a good person in mind for that, but it could be another potential elder.
I think I would go ahead and bend on my rule about that. And in fact, I don't have any rules. It's your rules, you know. But I was just saying in general, I want elders to be in the lives of people. You know, this might be a great way for, thinking this one, if they own this goal, this might be a way for them. You're small enough as a congregation. Rich Mike could get in the lives of all of you a little better by checking in on how you're doing. So, Marty.
My suggestion is that we allow each group to come up with who they think ought to be the goal owner, and then we can assess it all together rather than making a snap decision right now.
Is that okay?
Yeah,
That's fine.
Yeah, but I'm thrilled we got one volunteer. Yay! Because it's going to make a huge difference as your day goes on. I love your idea in your heart about writing here and putting stuff on the flip chart early on. That's great. I will just caution you, I might have
That's what I was just like this, I was gonna go tell you.
I might have bled through on the paint. So I think these dry erase probably won't, but I have bled through on people's paint before.
They need a bigger painted anyway.
They didn't. Let me trade you this. If you're going to do that, let me trade you this. Okay, so each group recommend a goal owner. That's what we normally do. Each group recommend and nominate a goal owner. And look, is it going to offend anybody here if there's multiple people that are suggested? Okay, it shouldn't. I mean, we're all for the cause of Christ. And you might find somebody doesn't get suggested for one goal because they got you in mind for another goal. Okay? Okay, yeah, let's go. Let me, I've rambled too long this morning.
Let's sit down.
I think they're safer.
Fuzz left.
This one's got a little bit.
Well, what, you need it though.
No, I'm okay.
You okay?
I already have a question.
Yeah.
I missed. So we're supposed to brainstorm a bunch of them. Say we come up with 100. Do we write all 100 on our piece of paper, or how many do you want us to present?
I would recommend that, I don't know why I've got this still on. I would recommend that you have a note taker
Okay.
in your group.
two. Yeah, to do like two couples get together that challenge each other.
Because then you're helping this person where they're weak versus and that person where they're strong.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and also that grows those relationships. Maybe some people are close to each other
Right.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so like you and I text almost every day because we're, keeping each other accountable for, did you read? Sorry, I haven't read in like 2 days either.
I haven't done today's reading.
But like, and then it, it's like, then and that's our new lives, where before maybe we weren't getting to know and help each other grow.
So is that, what is it called?
Brothers keepers.
Other ideas?
What about, what about small group Bible studies, like we were talking about before?
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like personally, I think that those are so great because you get some deeper discussion. Like you ask a question, you get off on rabbit trails and like learn things in a different way than just normal talking. Yes, so I'm gonna steal from Stephanie right now.
So mentorship.
But he actually suggested small group Bible studies instead of our Wednesday night. So it's like our harmony groups where we're meeting regionally in smaller groups.
Don't mentor people.
And
What
it
about,
could be,
um,
and anyways,
converts?
it might encourage people
So
who
they learn their
don't come on
roles,
Wednesday
or their,
nights.
what is their
Because of
responsibilities.
distances or nighttime driving or any, road conditions in winter, if we were meeting closer
Like at
to our
a
homes.
Or in
And,
Because then it's more comfortable.
yeah, exactly, yeah, more leaders in that way. Yeah, yeah, and again, that is Jesse's idea.
No, you can continue to put it out. We got more
And it could be that every group would go through the same materials too, so that we weren't all doing our own thing, but we were all growing together. Yes, but open up for more conversation, sharing more, we're in a home.
for newer Christians, asking the harder questions, like things they want to learn about, not even in business, but just like getting to the deeper things.
Yep, and then we find out where we didn't grow, because we might not even know. Some of that great time.
They communed all the time, they worked together.
So do you want to add anything else to this, or, because there was a lot of benefits for it, but are we listing all that stuff, or just the idea of like?
I know it's confusing, but like we need to be like, okay, I feel like in school you have a test, not a test, but like, oh, I'm getting this, or
Make sure you give Jesse credit for that.
is this better? Is it not? Like I'm proud he's listening.
That was something he's just mentioning
Wednesday instead of Wednesday.
instead of Wednesday. It could be that a group meets at the church building also.
Some one-on-ones, you
Yeah.
could have a one-on-one
Right.
too.
Yeah.
Or different ages, teenagers, they all meet together,
Yeah.
you know.
He's so cute.
Because, well, and it depends on where you are, like, me, I may not be down in the elementary studying. I'm not the college.
That's me, I'm the brand new Christian,
It's like some of those words.
What? Michelle, that word meant, what is it? What is that?
Gregarious?
Yeah, I was like, I mean, she said outgoing.
I mean, and maybe,
Outgoing. Right. I was gonna get my dictionary and then I was like, oh, I got one sitting next to me.
Because, my study levels and my.
And you brought up a good point yesterday, we learn differently.
Yes.
We're talking about you're very hands-on.
Yes.
And I like to drill, about
Just
this.
physical mistake.
kind of like the myth.
Unless there's some tape for you.
Tape in the office where, so like, teens,
Sleeve t-shirt.
same thing with
Yeah, that was
with
more,
young girls.
You
You mentor, yeah.
Yeah,
you
brand new
mentor
outfit.
as they get younger, maybe even it's a new Christian who hasn't done it before. They learn.
Yeah, it was like 8:45 and I was like, let me double check the schedule. And I'm like, oh, 9. I thought it was 9:30.
So like, big problems versus
She's like, we should be like,
the big problems.
what has God done for me this week? What kind of, you know, what kind of benefit?
Learning how to ask better questions.
Yeah, I guess, like what,
We need to be educated how to talk spiritually.
yeah.
If we don't already do it.
Yeah, because I mean, and obviously those other things are important too, but it's like, you know, how has God blessed you this week? What,
How can I pray for you?
yeah, you know, what, you know, I mean, obviously we give
Now, we're gonna have to talk about it, discuss it, solve
By
it.
getting it
prayers,
to like
but-
a deeper where it hits your actual emotions
yeah.
too.
And also you're gonna be thinking about like, oh, if somebody asks me,
Now,
you know,
What am I gonna say?
yeah, like you're gonna be thinking about what has God done for me this week? How have I been blessed this week? Or, you know,
Reframing the way that you talk.
yeah,
Yeah. But that's hard to do.
yeah.
Because they're not, because we're not in the habit, or maybe because we haven't had examples.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Follow us. It's just like, what did Stan, he used to say, you know, people would ask him, how are you doing? He'd say, better, what did he say, better than I deserve? Dave Ramsey, that's.
Yeah, I've had patients say that a lot.
My main thing,
No, Dave Ramsey got it from Stan.
you know, this is something that's a concern.
Well,
of
I don't know, I
ours,
just
but
put in
we as the church do it.
I think it kind of went on from that,
But
but,
it's something as a group.
without the numbers,
But I do
the whole
see these
idea
are
of,
things that would help tremendous. You know, like,
I kind of like the way Sarah put it, spiritual speaking.
Learning more spiritual speaking.
like,
Yeah,
I know my daughter
something along those lines.
Where it feels genuine and not awkward.
Yeah.
Relationships are weak, it can feel like sappy, like weird. Like depending on how you say stuff like that.
Yeah.
But like, we should
Well, I
just
think-
talk about it naturally.
I think as real Christians, as opposed to Christians out in the world that call themselves Christians but don't ever go to church or, you know, whatever. We shy away from those things sometimes because it sounds like those holy rollers or, you know, we're like, we don't wanna sound like those denominations. Yeah, yeah.
Come on, too spiritual.
Exactly.
We would be too spiritual.
Or like our faith is based in emotion, not in the Bible. Like,
Right.
When we leave the
the
emotion
emotion
out.
gets left out for what?
Exactly, yeah.
But yet, to the rest of the world, we don't sound any different than anybody else.
Yeah.
How do they know we're Christians?
Exactly.
If we don't say something different in a different country.
Yeah.
I felt like
It's tricky, it's a fine line.
we're not, but like, we're gonna do this, though. I can remember the big guy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Chamber of Commerce, how they have their morning meetings. I think another thing is the men need to meet more and do more activities together. I think they are lacking, they have their men's meetings, and I think they need to have more
Yeah, women definitely get together more.
Well, I guess discuss. I
Yeah.
feel like that, letting people know what we're
I've
doing.
got
so
tax
they
that those
know.
that wanna stay up, mine have fallen off.
Right?
I don't wanna attack your law.
So like the men's retreat or something, you know, I know a lot of churches.
Yeah.
You know, like them to have that.
Communicating what we're doing here.
We've been just like, you know, Jesse, Shane.
Going fishing.
I know, like,
Yeah.
how much, like, benefits.
Yeah.
All three of us, you know, by
Exactly.
doing that.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, it's not a spiritual focus, like that, it's
Just being
working
together.
together, you know, like going out to each other's homes, doing those are really bonding.
Spiritual building, yeah, there's
And
still
it's
just
like, and you,
But then
then
you
you
can
say
say
no
no
to
to
people.
people.
Doing something, well, I don't want that.
So if you guys have any ideas who you would nominate for goal owner?
Maybe not necessarily for us, but we'll just say class.
Yeah, something we can do to do Gen Moms.
I kinda like Rich's idea.
Yeah.
And
I feel
society.
like he would do a great job and be passionate about this
Specific, yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. And actually follow how to talk to people.
Yeah, he has sweet
You
potato.
know, when you have a young couple that's getting married,
Sweet one.
you know, or when you have somebody that's gonna study.
Jesse.
Yeah, he does, like, their roles.
Team, yeah.
Not make
I don't know everything we're talking about at all, because I'm one of those.
He does like counseling.
approach
That would be
those.
fun.
But I
Yeah.
don't think it should stop there, you know.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
like, you don't have to look at it, so it's like
That takes a lot of time.
Yeah. As they get married and move along and separate, you know, build relationships and okay, this is something.
in her heart wants to be more.
Do you think that maybe we need to start
Yeah, yeah.
workshop stuff and less?
Yeah.
I'm not on the fence about like, I think we need to have a good balance. I think like making sure we're not just doing all fun. But everything can be fun, but not all just like fun.
Yeah, yeah.
The Bible says
Special, so like making sure our talent is
team.
Awesome than like this too, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
The fun stuff, she's got a whole spiritual journey
Oh, yeah.
program.
Well,
She
I don't
does,
know.
okay.
I don't always do that, like, you know,
That'll
like,
work for all the ladies.
So let's just say making sure that
That would be neat to
that
do.
would be a good way to like, kick off. Yeah, balancing. Calendar, like what
Oh, yeah, actually, Tony was like, I wanna learn how to can, and I was like, that should be like a, cause we have the like painting classes and
Yeah.
the different, I was like, we should do a canning one. So Tony's like, I would come.
I guess like planning session, you know, we need to take time to sit down, okay, what are we doing next month, whatever, like, kind of basically like. Yeah.
It's
and
fun,
then-
and they all
I
look
guess we
different.
need to get
Your
more-
imagination just
But let's
goes,
get what-
you know, when you're putting it on the blank.
I'd
be happy to help with like,
Well,
I just, I'm not really good with words to
But I'm
teach.
saying-
I know how to can, I
Yeah.
can, you know,
Oh,
forever.
yeah.
Right.
Maybe like 6
But-
and 6,
I
something
mean,
like that.
I'd be happy to help,
Yeah.
which is,
And that's a neat way
Yeah,
to
I
even
think
bring
little
people
just
in.
like organized groups of activities, I mean, you already have group activities. So any, it doesn't have to be a Bible study or, you know, specific.
Go fishing, like.
Exactly.
or how to sharpen a chainsaw, or, you know, to
Right.
maintain
Things that would
You
actually
just
be
go outside and
beneficial
use
to.
a new saw blade.
No,
After you do
Throw it away.
after you use it, you need to, before you put it away, you gotta clean it up and do the maintenance, get it all clean, pull it up, sharpen it, so it's all
tasting the milk about it if they see, you know, this group is from the church and they're coming and they're working together and they love each other.
And not pressuring us, not giving us pamphlets, you know.
Exactly, they're not being pushy, they're just coming and helping.
The best thing is by example.
Yeah.
And they see you from afar, you don't know who you're watching, that is
Yeah.
walking around and witnessing how you're talking to each other, how you grow together.
Are we gonna do another t-shirt order because, yeah.
Oh, yeah, we should ask Claudia, see what we're doing.
When they were up there doing business meetings where they're helping. The guy on the excavator here was amazing. How many times he spoke so highly
Oh, that's so neat.
and what a wonderful church this must be a place for them to come up. And he goes, I can't believe I could stay, I could keep the wood and stay ahead, you know, because the trees going down, and he says, oh, they just go down. I'm not having them, how you guys all work together, you know, so I mean, that was a witness to him.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's planting a seed.
And then when he's out there fighting fires and talking to us, that may come or.
Or even, out at, Marty and Tim's house, you know, and having,
I would feel bad to be like, oh, I have to do this. And they're like,
I just lost their names. Vaughn and Ethel.
it's some of that.
Their friends in Ethel, and they're going kids.
Yeah, Ellie, yeah, like even, you know, and then she came and these are, yeah, and like, there's opportunities there that we don't necessarily think about.
Try to fix that.
Well, and that's okay, 'cause maybe there's somewhere else that they can start that.
So just not put it in a direct, there's always Facebook, right? It's like, maybe local Facebook groups, right? I bet anyone had their job of, you're like paying attention to people who ask for help, and then like selecting, like, that would be a good one, and like volunteering, like if there's a group of people, like, want to do that. And not just being like ever, like just a general invitation, cause you might get swarmed and not be able to do everything, you know, but like it could be like, took the opportunities when people ask, that could be a good way to meet people and find things people need in the community.
Yeah.
Cause I'm sure people do stuff like that all the time.
Yeah.
Well,
You're not just learning about the
Fourth of July, you could have a sign out sheet, you know, when they were coming in, are there any needs that, you know?
All right. I don't know if you need a little break. We're going to listen to each other's presentations.
Sorry.
If you need a break, take a quick break. We're going to listen to each other's presentations.
People can put down, do you know of anyone that?
Where do you want this to go?
Right here on the whiteboard.
Okay.
All right. We got some more people coming up.
Where do you want this at?
Oh, you can put it up there if you want to.
Well, I don't know if I want ours up there.
Well, they're going to eventually end up there. It's a question of when. All right, can I bring yours up here too? Okay, I think everybody's back together. Thank you. How'd that go? Did you guys enjoy talking in your groups? Yeah. Not good? You want to vote somebody off the island? Okay, well, facts are facts, you know. Okay, as we're going through these presentations, we're going to ask each group to present their ideas. Either one or two of you come up and represent your group, okay? And a couple things to be thinking about. All the reason we're doing this is to achieve your vision, right? So keep that in the back of your mind. We've already said one of your goals is the 5 elders, 7 deacons. I think that's going to get to the Christ-led leadership. All these other things we're working on have to help you be a Christ-like family if you're going to achieve your vision. Okay, as you're thinking about this, keep that in the back of your mind. Are these things moving us to be achieving our vision? Other thing I ask you to think about, I think I told you on the agenda, at the end of the day, we want to break up into 3 different groups, not where you talk about the same topic, but where you each talk about the goal you're most interested in working on. So as you listen to these presentations, think about, at the end of the day, which one of these 3 goals, the spiritual growth, 50 homeschool kids, or the 200 members, and which one of those goals do you have the most passion about? As you hear ideas, it'll help you. And then also we've got to decide who the goal owner is for each. Okay, so as you make these presentations, let's get going. Who wants to go first? All right, thank you.
I don't know how to use this thing, but
talking to us.
hi. This is kind of funny, but we decided we would like Rich and Lynn to be the goal owners of this because they both are really grounded in the Word and they love the church. They love the church family, and I've known them for 5-6 years now, and they're very spiritual, lovely people, and they just want to make everybody grow. But anyway, our first idea was learning the books of the Bible. How many people need to learn the books of the Bible? Betty has a song. Sing it, Betty. She wants us to sing it every day when we come together. Sing the books of the Bible. First thing, so we all start learning it. The next idea we had was a buddy system. So team up with somebody, 2 or 3 people if necessary or whatever, and use that as an accountability partner for prayer, reading the Word, and also using a spiritual assessment system like what you have maybe. And Lynn, I know, has one too, to pair people up with strengths and weaknesses and stuff like that. This was Jesse's idea, but we borrowed it. Small group Bible studies instead of our midweek Wednesday night. Have small groups in homes to get to know each other better and get more personal. Checking in with absent members. We don't really have a system for that. Sometimes people fall in the cracks because we think, oh, somebody's called them, and we never call them until 2 weeks later, and then they're gone. Learning and practicing spiritual speak. That was kind of weird, but it's like we see each other and we go, oh, how was your week, and blah, 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 and we just talk, about what's going on, but we don't say, well, how can I pray for you this week, or what's really going on that you need help with, or getting deeper on a deeper level. And I don't know how to put that into words, but
You just did.
and group activities to build rapport, things like what I just did, going fishing with the 2 or 3 guys, just going having coffee with the girls or whatever, but getting together more often so that you can get to know each other on a more personal level.
Making time to do that.
And making time for each other. Right. We need a system to know each other's wants and needs, because we don't know each other's really wants and needs unless it's a superficial type of thing. So we need some kind of a system to really get to know each other critically so we can meet each other's needs. And then that will lead to outreach, in our community. And then community service was the last idea that we had. Doing things together for people in the community, not wanting anything back, but just to show our love. And so that people can see that Sandpoint Church of Christ will make a presence, eventually.
Wow. You guys nailed it. Good job. All right, tough act to follow. Who's next? Do you guys see how powerful all these different ideas? Okay. Who's up? All right, Marty.
So we chose Rich as well for the goal owner. But I think we should add Lynn on there as well too, Rich and Lynn. So number 1 and number 2 are both assessments. Number 1, assessing Bible knowledge. We think that's important because everything basically springs from that. If we don't know what God wants, how can we live spiritually? So assessing Bible knowledge of each individual member of the congregation, and then assessing the application, or how we're actually putting our Bible knowledge into action. Faith without works is dead. And so how are we applying that in our lives? Again, an assessment on each individual member of the congregation. Tracking attendance is just one of, it's not the only, but just one of the ways that people put this into practice, right? And so tracking individual attendance, not just the number on the board, but keeping a record of when we're here and when we're not here, each individual member.
Provoking one another to love and good deeds.
Yes, and then accountability partners, we had that as well. Talking daily with others about Scripture is the idea, but I like what you guys had said, there was other things in there as well, right? Not just Scripture. And then individualized Bible lessons based on number 1, right? And so if I'm weak in the minor prophets, Jesse's really good in the minor prophets, he teams up and we study the minor prophets together because we know I don't know who knows all this information. Somebody's got to hold this information, right, in their hands. But somehow, though, people are put together who are weak and who are strong in certain areas of Bible knowledge and/or certain areas of application.
Yay, good job. All right, who's next? Somebody jump up. Jump up. Next group.
All right, we didn't follow the rules, I guess. We didn't do it like you guys did. We followed what he had. So anyway, so it's not as well planned, or it's not as well documented, I guess. But we have our paper downstairs. It's more documented. It had all our stuff on it. So we went with Bible studies as being the biggest one. That's in the home, obviously, and your own personal Bible study. And I put an asterisk by that because we determined that we need an education plan for 5 years, starting from new converts all the way up. So that way we can help them get more into the Bible and get to that spiritual growth. So we put here biblical and spiritual assessment, which I saw a lot of y'all had too. So that way we can see where you're at biblically knowledge, but where you're at spiritually, like fruits of the Spirit. So, and then we have the mentorship, discipleship, same thing along with you guys. And then part of that training is the men's training class and women's training classes. So that's where we got to.
Excellent. Good job. All right. All right. Who's presenting? Oh, did you have a... You okay with Rich? Len? Rich and Len? It's okay?
When you say don't take no for an answer, I thought meant put everything you think of up there, right?
Yeah, sure.
I don't want to miss anything.
Let's try to hit the highlights.
Yeah, we did highlights. Okay, so we just brainstormed and then we picked 4 of the most important ones, maybe 5. Okay, so we need a survey and find out where everyone's at in their knowledge and application, and we don't want to just send out a survey. We actually want one-on-one asking of like, well, if you weren't here, or like, why weren't you here, or like in a loving, caring way so that we can help each other grow. Mentorships and discipleships, like one-on-one, helping each other to grow. Balanced calendar. So we want a good mix of like social activities, Bible studies, planning workshops, and like community good deeds, and community Bible studies, gospel meetings, and topical seminars. So making sure we're not just doing a lot of one and not the other. So the other idea we had was a directory of gifts. So we think we can grow and make us a family if we are like using each other's gifts. So for example, if we have a problem with our car, we're going to ask Joseph. But there's people who have people who have talents that we don't know about, or maybe we don't know that they're willing to use it. So we want, like, maybe even in the directory, say, these are the things that I can help my church family with. And then Tanya said she likes doing arts. So if I met someone who likes doing arts, I could be like, hey, do you want to meet my friend Tanya? And we could all hang out and then teach them the gospel as well, eventually. And then, so we liked, we felt like we needed more one-on-one studies and small group studies. So again, we want to, like, make sure we have a good mix that look at our calendar and saying, are we doing some one-on-one, some small group, some all of church, and some men and women, and not be too skewed in one area. And then you can read the rest if you want. Right. Does our group want to add
Anyone add anything? Excellent. Wow, what a number of good ideas. Do you see how this works? There are a lot of great ideas, some repetitive. You can decide if you want to focus on some of the ones that were common or some that were unique. That's really going to be... where'd Rich go? We lost our goal owner. Oh, I was going to say our goal owner suddenly disappeared. Okay. All right, so let's talk about these, and we won't do this for every one of the sessions unless maybe we'll have time. But let me just look for a few common themes and make a couple comments, and then be thinking about who wants to join Rich in a meeting later this afternoon to talk about what you're going to do next, what your next steps are. Okay. A lot of great ideas. There were a couple of common themes I just wanted to highlight. Oh, first of all, on the screen I have an example of a spiritual assessment. I think you've already said a few things that are probably better than the one they had. This is one from Rolla Church. It's a big, reasonably, a couple hundred member, maybe 300, I don't remember. But they went through and, they display the fruit of the Spirit. And you got to do a self-assessment. You really have to be honest to make this work. You have to ask yourself, am I a 3 and I want to be a 5? I pick on that one because I've had a lot of family members over the years that say, well, that's just the way I am. I'm going to be everything else but patient. Well, there's one fruit of the Spirit. You can't leave one of them out, right? So anyway, there were, I think, 15 questions. Where do I need to grow spiritual maturity, and what can the church do to help me grow? So that's an example. I've got a few others, and you probably have some of your own. But that's one thing that you want to do. And you had more. I've not really seen anything like this that I think of, but actually how to assess somebody's Bible knowledge. I don't know how to do that exactly, but that would be great if you could figure that out. So anyway, I want to mention that. This thing about keeping up with fellow members, that's really important. I love that idea. It showed up a couple of places. Accountability partners. My wife's got a few friends in our home church that she's really vulnerable with. She didn't have to tell everybody in the whole congregation what's going on, what they're struggling, but she's got some few. And they tell her stuff that they're struggling with. And again, then they don't have to stand up in front of the whole congregation because these are big struggles. But you got to have somebody you talk to. And I'm afraid too many times, and I've heard a little bit of it mentioned today, you may be walking past each other, how it's going, and not really talking. And one phrase I heard recently I think is really true. You don't build bridges from your strengths, right? You build bridges from being vulnerable. And an example for me, so my first wife died of cancer in 2016. And I've got a daughter that just absolutely freaked out on me when I started dating. And she's got 2 grandkids I've never met. I've got 2 grandkids, I've never met them. And so it's really sad. Now, I tell you that to say that you didn't have to know that, right? I could have just been all happy and perky for a couple of days and then drift off. But that wouldn't help me build any kind of a bridge with you. And I will tell you, I've told that story pretty much every congregation I've worked with because it's true and sad. And almost everybody, I think every congregation, somebody's come up to Lisa and I and told us something they're struggling with. They haven't felt comfortable telling their fellow members. That's a part of our spiritual growth, lifting each other up. Again, you don't have to tell everybody like I did in front of the whole group, but I'd like to know that there were a couple of you I could have told that to, and you could have helped me through it. Okay? And I think that's what she, and Lisa has a couple she does the daily Bible reading with, and they kind of do hold each other accountable a little bit. Are you falling behind? Are you keeping up?
I'm 3 days ahead, thank you.
Yeah. I'd like you to ask her last week, because she uses these workshops and gets caught up. And again, the accountability buddy system, I'm seeing a lot of strong things. I want to comment on this small group. COVID really threw a wrench in a lot of our congregation and our brotherhood's kind of a worship schedule. But one really powerful thing, one congregation where my son goes. Now, my son does talk to me, praise God, and I've got a little 8-year-old granddaughter that I'm able to put all my focus on. But that congregation they were at, they've moved since, but they were in Green Bay, and they stopped their Sunday evening worship, and they decided to do in-home Bible studies, but they really are doing them. And so 2 couples will go into their home and invite a couple of neighbors. Just come over for pizza. We're going to do like a 15-minute Bible study, but come over for pizza and get to know some of our friends. Very non-threatening, but you know what? And there have been a handful of people that they managed to convert to faith. But most of at least a lot of people heard the gospel that never would have. Just think about those small group Bible studies, and bringing outsiders in is a really powerful way. Checking in on people that are absent. If we're all vulnerable with each other, you can do that. If you come from strength, it's more like, it comes across more as like, where are you? I was here. But if we're vulnerable and say, I'm struggling with this or that. More group activities. These are all great ideas. Surveys. Mentorships, discipleships. I've seen examples where people actually were really formal about mentoring to the degree that they would actually sign a contract that for a year, and the contract says things like, I won't share anything that's discussed outside our relationship. And one of the groups downstairs, you guys didn't take credit for it, but you were talking about, in terms of mentorship and discipleship, recreating the way Jesus grew his disciples spiritually, his apostles. It's a really powerful study. He started with come and see to Andrew, and by the end of the time, it's come and die, and they were ready to carry your cross, right? So very powerful to think about using something like that as your way to lift everybody up. So, and then last one I want to mention is this gifts. There were several things about gifts and talents, and if you don't know each other's, you really should. And I want to reinforce that. Maybe even have it in the directory, as Nadia said. We worked. It was actually that Puyallup. I can't say it. I know that Washington church that I had on the screen. We need to be humble people, and we should be, but that shouldn't prevent us from sharing what our gifts and talents are with those around us. And that congregation actually puts them all in their directory. And people had no idea that some people were capable of plumbing. And when they, maybe a widow has some issue she needs some help with, now they all know who to talk to and who to call and who to lean on. And so I think really being prescriptive and intentional about people's gifts can really carry you a long way to helping you lift up one another, growing spiritually. Okay, all the ideas you heard, does that help us be more like a Christ-like family? Yeah, that's my read on it too. All right, so we're ready, if you are, to go on to the next goal and do the same thing, unless you say, I don't like this whole process. What do you think? Did you enjoy that okay? Rich you and Lynn as the goal owner. Do you think you can synthesize all this in a meeting this afternoon? And be thinking about who wants to join in that meeting. And it obviously works out really well if it's about a third of you. And then the other 2 goals, there's about a third of you. Okay? Any comments? Really, I'm your servant. If you didn't like what we just did, speak up, please. If you're okay with it, we're going to do another one. Well, I'm going to give them all to you. And yes, please take pictures. I'm going to give them all to you. Lisa wants to take them home with us, but I say no. No. Well, I have slept them home before. I don't know why. Okay, which goal do you want to do next? We've got 50 homeschool kids supported. And by the way, as you're meeting and talking, you can rename these goals. I don't believe in wordsmithing. I think your time's too valuable for me to spend like 10 minutes. That's not exactly how to say it. So I just write down what you say and expect you'll do it. Does that make sense? Okay. 50 homeschool kids or the 200 members?
50 homeschool kids.
All right. Vote. How many? Show of hands. How many of the 50 kids? Show of hands. Next. And we're going to do all three. And then the 200. Who doesn't care? You guys don't care. Nobody's voting. The 200 members. I got like 5 votes total. What's going on? Oh, I don't care. You don't care? Well, only 2 people really cared.
Flip coin.
Flip a coin.
I don't like the pressure. I'm a facilitator.
Arm wrestle, Marty.
No. How strongly do you feel, Marty?
Whatever.
It doesn't matter.
No.
I don't know. Come on.
Just pick the top one.
All right, we'll just grab one. All right, let's get back in our groups and think about what does this mean. So now you guys that suggested this as a goal. I don't see oh, okay, everybody's here. Say a little more about what you had in mind with this goal. What did you have in mind? That this is, oh, by the way, I should have said this. I've been thinking this to myself. That doesn't really help you a lot. These goals, these 3 goals, there need to be a kind of a mix of internal and external, and you have that. And I would have tried to stop you if I didn't think you did. But really, the 4 goals, 1 internal about the elders, right? 1 internal about spiritual growth, and then you got 2 external. How can we help? There's an unmet need in the community for something about homeschool kids. I picked that up very clearly. And then the other external ones get to be 200 members. That you're going to have to be very externally focused to do that. So you got 2 internal, 2 external. I can't get much better than that. Again, I would have tried to move you if I thought like you weren't doing that. So say a little more about this.
Yeah, whoever brought that up, because I don't really quite understand what the point is.
Yeah.
The goal.
Maybe they're not here today. So that goal, it came down to that the homeschooling is growing and growing more prevalent here in North Idaho, right? Internally and externally. And a lot of it has to do with there's newer converts, at least in this congregation, that are starting to think about homeschooling their kids and not where to go to start that process. And so to have something with the Church of Christ to be able to have families that help other families that have gone through that process.
Yeah.
Because we get there's a lot of homeschooling in the area that are in other denominational congregations.
Okay. And I heard there was a networking aspect that they don't always have a facility to go. That's the point. A homeschool means you need somewhere else to go to meet. And it can be a Bible study kind of environment too. Almost you can create what you might have most private Christian schools will have some kind of a daily devotional or daily chapel or something like that. And and people need a place to gather where they could do that once, twice a week. Are you willing to use your building for that kind of stuff? And yeah.
So to Joseph's point, we were just speaking with the preacher and his wife up at Bonner's Ferry, about 45 minutes north of here, and they've been part of the co-op for quite a while, homeschooling, but they've just started this year. Now they're coming down every Monday to just right across the street here to the North Summit denomination, and so to his point, there's a need for it.
Okay. All right, let's talk about how to get started. Think about
Separate from other denominations, is that what the goal is?
No, they just use their building.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
well, they have nowhere else to go. They probably would come to your building, right?
Well, if we had to
If you,
meet and structure it.
We see that in our neighborhood. The Baptist church has really got on that fast and kind of is growing because it used its building first. It let everyone come in. So
Yeah.
this is kind of a big.
yeah, there's a real, for a non-believer or a non-member to actually enter into somebody's church building is awkward for them, right? There's a lot of people who don't feel they're worthy to come in this building. You get people comfortable coming. It's synergistic with your other goal, but it's targeted at an unmet need. is what I see, yeah.
So, to elaborate on the goal, is it the goal to have 50 homeschool kids who are members of our congregation? Or
I
is
didn't hear it that way.
It's
Just,
50
there's a need for 50, and that's probably the scale of people
To serve the neighborhood.
to serve the neighborhood. So it has nothing to, this is purely external. I don't think it has anything to do from what I heard, yeah.
And I think another topic that we talked about yesterday was getting younger members into the congregation. That would also.
Yeah, it's synergistic, but this needs to stand on its own as a goal external just to meet this need. Now, to your point, it'll probably will lead to that.
So that'd be a byproduct then.
It'd be a byproduct as opposed to the focus is just, and you know what, the reason it's so important to think like that, if this is really your goal, if you do this for 5 years and you never get a member converted, you've still helped this homeschool community. And maybe you've given them a few Bible studies, a few people hear the gospel that wouldn't have otherwise. If your goal is to get 200 members and you do this, you might stop after a year if nobody's converting. Do you see the difference in making it a goal or not? You say something else? Okay.
I just said it would also help with getting the church out, the name of
Yeah.
church out in a positive.
Yeah. Yeah, what a welcoming place. You know, we're not members there, but we're using their building. One congregation, I think this was Temple, Texas, has a college there. And they opened up their building with coffee and Wi-Fi for the college students. And they've gotten just a fantastic reputation in the community. They haven't converted a lot of people, but they know they're there. And every now and then they have somebody that wants to pray. Well, oh yeah, they have people who want to pray with them about their struggles and their exams periodically. So you may find yourself praying with some of these homeschool people. But you still agree with this as a goal? Everybody good? Okay, let's take about 20, 30 minutes. How are you going to make this happen? What's the action steps to actually make this happen? Who's the goal owner? Who has passion about it to coordinate and lead it? Okay?
Do we need to take a sheet down with us?
Yes. We will get you the sheets. My wife's on her way to get them now. You guys are suddenly quiet. I've never heard you quiet yet. I don't know. Absolutely. I will put my email address up in a minute. If you'll just email me, I'll send you anything that you want. Oh, I'll see. I'll ask if he has a printer.
Yeah, we do have.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll try to print it. While you're meeting, I'll print it. Okay, I'll do it. No, you go ahead and meet and let them have your brain power, and I'll get it figured out. I'll get it figured out.
Okay. Thanks, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
to it, but,
like,
you
so
know,
that
you don't know
like,
days.
at our church building. And so, or we go to the park, or we go to the library, we go on a hike.
Hey.
And so, when I feel like, I don't know, we were just constantly out meeting people.
And so you met people there, cause then maybe when, it could be, this could be a central area for those people that are out there meeting, instead of just going to a library, they're able to come back here and discuss what they just did for that activity for the day. We
possible, but you're exactly on time from an agenda standpoint. It may feel like a little bit of random. Thank you. Yeah, we're on track. Have some nice presentations. We'll break a little before noon. I think it'll be done a little before noon for lunch, okay? All right. So you guys went first last time, right? I mean, yeah, you went first. So let's let another group go first. Somebody jump up, present your information. Oh, you guys went last, didn't you? Why don't you go first, since you guys went last. Put it up here for you somewhere.
Thanks. I don't need magnifying.
All right.
So our ideas were having a space, kind of a co-op space, but a space where we can come and you can get support from parents or individuals. They can help guide you if you need some guidance. You can also help each other if you're feeling down and you're not sure if you're on the right path. Even as a homeschool parent, you can have other parents to bounce ideas off and to grow with and to become stronger together. And let's see, having maybe a devotional every week, led by Jesse, hopefully if he's available, that we could get people understanding what we believe and how we believe it, but also just having that safe place. We talked about etiquette classes because a lot of times we're losing that etiquette or learning how to be polite and using manners. So I think that would be an interesting niche to fill in that isn't really around. Finding out what people need, trying to find the different homeschool communities in the area and learning what people are searching for. I know they have a big presence down over for Bonners County, but there's nothing like that in Kootenai County. So having something that we could come up to and have other homeschoolers to grow with and not really have classes, but have social activities or learning how to do public speaking and to grow in those different areas that you can kind of do with your siblings, but it's not fun if they're your critics. Just be a toddler Bible study. We talked about doing it on Fridays where we could invite the community in and have like what we do on Sunday mornings, but have it then so then moms and toddlers feel more comfortable coming in, and if they're getting those Bible classes, just kind of finding those different niches. As I told the ladies when we moved up here, I was searching for things like Trailblazers or American Girls, and everything's on Wednesday evenings. And so I'm like, if we can find another evening that could fit a group of people that are worshiping on a Wednesday night, we could reach a different group that's searching for that type of service.
When you said Trailblazer
Yeah.
and American Girls, are you thinking about Trail Life and American Heritage Girls?
Sure, yes, yes.
They're fantastic organizations.
Whatever they're called.
Yeah, it's like, I'll go with that, yeah.
Well, I'm not trying to be smart. I just mean like the Christian alternative
To Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts,
right?
yes. Yes.
They're fantastic. We were just at a 600-member congregation last weekend that had a big part of that. They did their worship service, and at the end, they gave out badges and stuff, or talked about who moved into what category. And I sponsored the American Heritage Girls at our home church. It's a fantastic organization.
Is that a monthly fee or is it a yearly, or how does that go to be a charter member or whatever?
It was a one-time registration fee, I think. It wasn't.
Oh, okay.
It's nominal.
And then you pay for the materials like the badges and.
I think, but it's all real. It was not very expensive. It was very, I'm sorry I interrupted. Great. Oh, last thing, you didn't say anything about goal owner.
Timothy said he was willing to own it, and I.
2 groups said that. Does it sound good? All right. Yay, we got another goal owner. Well, and good job presenting too. And do you see why I think it's important the goal owner hear some of these presentations? You look at them a little differently if you think you're going to be the one involved. All right. And here's all your charts.
And I'll just add to what Jenny had, because Timothy and I and the whole group up there, were talking about who's going to be leading it, and we said that it would be Timothy and Jenny in that regard. So we do have 2. One of the first things we thought about when we talked about the 50 homeschool kids is that we want to really make it biblical based, and we want to be able to help families get started in that whole program and realize the benefits of having that and to advertise it. So one of the things we were talking about, we would advertise probably first by mouth of how we would want to do that. Then secondly, we'd go with Facebook and with flyers or whatever. But we thought as we talked more about it, probably keeping it at 50 would be a challenge because of the number of families that want to do homeschool up in this area. It is highly sought after in this area of how do I start my family on that, because they do not agree with a lot of things that are being taught in the schools, the public schools. So one of the things we have to do is as a congregation, assessment of what we can provide, who has those skills available to help in that area, and that's one of the first steps. Then we got to organize what kind of programs we can make available, and we kind of started talking about those programs down here. I was very involved as a president for Toastmasters in Colorado, and so there's a Toastmaster speaking club for juniors actually put out there for that. Then Apologetic Press and Focus Press has a lot of material related to that, and so does World Bible School has a lot of materials that you can do in that regard. We thought about social outings. A lot of the things is when you do have a homeschool effort, you don't do things together as an outing together. Let's go on a hike to this location with a bunch of the kids, and we all carpool to a location to take on that. So social outings, maybe go to see a factory in operation or go watch a construction. I mean, that was my forte, was construction equipment and watching them build, and I could explain what all the equipment is out there that's doing that. So a lot of the people would like to know how to do those physical skills too. Art and music, that's what's really lacking in a lot of homeschool programs right now is art and music. And we have people that have those skills and abilities in that regard. Robotics, I was helping with the high school at Delta in Colorado with the robotics program when I was involved with Toastmasters. And I would meet with people after I retired of getting involved with the robotics program there in Colorado. This is one that Brenton says, we need to provide ice cream. That makes kids do anything.
Go back to that ice cream.
Kids will come, and a pop machine. They're very good.
Those 2 things go really good together.
And then sports. I mean, how often do you talk about having a homeschool sports team where you have baseball or those basic, or pickleball or whatever you want to do? Just getting together, because that seems like that's a thing that's lacking in some of the homeschool efforts. We focus on the material and don't talk about the things outside of the material. Creation and Genesis is another great publication that's out there, a video series of creationism, of how all the scientists are now reverting back to thinking that the only possible way for what we have is through a master designer, through a divine being to do that. So there's a lot of material in that regard. Plus, talking to Timothy, there's a Sunshine program that has all the material for you and has that background for parents to look at and get going in that regard. So I think that's how we did the biblical-based program.
Yay, good job. All right, great stuff. Okay, now the other group nominated Joseph to be leader. Is okay with Timothy and Jenny? There were 2. What?
I think they misspelled Timothy.
Okay. But the fact that somebody else is nominated ought to be flattering. And, you know, if you've got a lot of passion about it, you may want to be a key member of that team. All right, who's up next? Okay.
I'm really loud.
We're good.
I'm very loud. Okay. Oh, Scott, do you want to come beat me to it?
No, I think,
Yeah, we thought Joseph would be good because he seemed pretty passionate and he's local here. So, so obviously providing a location. We also talked about the extracurricular activities or electives like sewing, canning, whatever, and being free. They were mentioning that some of the other homeschool groups are, you know, cost money, so it could be free. Maybe they just bring, if you're sewing, maybe they just bring material, or people donate their machines for the day or whatever. Then we thought this actually should have probably been at the top, but evaluating the real need for it. Because we kind of felt like it already exists, but maybe not. I mean, none of us are homeschooling actively, so. And then maybe there could be groups that specifically need it, like maybe low-income families or minority families that aren't being included in groups that are already existing. And then it was mentioned maybe include people that aren't homeschooled kids, like from the high school that's down the road or the elementary, maybe they want to come and do, you know, learning crafts for free. And then it was brought up the legalities of it being done in our building, like maybe we would have to have our insurance include having outside people in, I don't know. Background checks, thinking about allergies, if kids have allergies and we have to be careful, especially if we are providing healthy meals or snacks, that we would have to make sure that we're legally not giving them something they're allergic to or.
Yay, good job.
All right, now you're up, Scott.
All right, finish strong.
I think it's probably best that I come up last because you guys have covered everything pretty well, seems like. Let me do some, I can't hold that thing at the same time. No, Tom, with everything you covered and whatever you. I wrapped it on there, sorry. I'll do that. Got a whole book. Thank you. No, those were a lot of more in-depth, I think, and real well thought out aspects of it. But I think we have a couple things to add here that are pretty worthy. So we hadn't really picked a goal owner, but it sounds like Timothy and Jenny, since it's all going to be combined into somebody doing this, we didn't need to pick, I don't think, anybody different. Joseph, though, you know, you're all involved the same, be good. So 50 homeschool kids supported. So we just thought of ways, how do we support? Seems to me kind of a field that we don't have a lot of experience in. Only one family, I believe, homeschools. So at first we didn't really understand what the whole idea was. But our first one was socialization activities with prayer, devotionals, and some hand-on activities, like teaching the kids or taking them on field trips for fishing, hiking, some car maintenance, oil changes, how to change a tire, carpentry, bring a log splitter, unlimited number of things that could be done that is really lacking today in the world with the blue collar aspect. These kids don't get to see much of that, a lot of them. So basically socialization activities that would fill in with their academic curriculum. And then thought about homeschool consultation for beginners. Now, I'm not sure who of us are eligible or capable to do that, but I'm sure there are some, or we can learn how, pardon?
Jenny and Timothy.
Yeah, it's kind of funnels down to a couple people here, but that could be a great way to reach people if they're looking. I don't know how one even goes about saying, how do I join a homeschool co-op? They look it up on Facebook or the newspaper, or what do they do? But and then the last one was to offer classes, Bible-based, preferably, or not. We could teach English and science, math, whatever might be lacking or needs to be taught. And the premise on all this is that the building would be used as the class, as where what they would meet. We're not going out anywhere, but they're here. While they're here, we then could easily fit into a number of different, roles and slots and help. And I find that pretty exciting because those kids, the book learning and all is wonderful, but think of the things we could teach them on going down to the water and skipping stones, or, showing them some physical things. So that was it. I think that's, you guys covered like 98% of it.
Yay, good job. You have a mic, if you don't mind?
Yeah, you bet.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't fully understand when you first brought it up now, this concept, but it really makes a lot of sense to me. You're helping people that are not got the socialization to have a Christian interaction, a Christian socialization. I think that's, I really applaud you for that. There's several things that were commonalities here. This, again, the socialization aspect. If they're not around a lot of other kids and they're being homeschooled, they do need this kind of Toastmasters idea, learn to speak publicly, things that you would get maybe in a speech class that you're probably not going to get in a homeschool. I heard somebody say, well, I liked what you said, that you could perform in front of your siblings, but that's likely to go bad, And then, the skills you guys talked about, like sewing, canning, stuff that, people would like to know, probably don't know how. And I just was thinking as you were talking, used to manage facilities, and most of the people that we were hiring over the course of about 10 years went from they'd never touched a wrench, till they had just grown up working on their own cars and stuff. And so just in a 10-year window, the whole dynamics changed, and who actually knows how to even change oil. And so that's some gifts and talents you guys could hand down from a Christian perspective to the next generation. And, whether they ever convert to Christianity or not, but you're showing them that example, I think. So I applaud you for that. I'm sure these parents could use a lot of support too. So I don't need to restate a really good list of stuff. I'm glad you got a goal owner. Any other parting comments? People excited about it? Yeah.
Yeah, just really thinking about this. Last week, Marty and Julie were telling us about when they were in Indonesia, that they offered a service of teaching English. And I know a lot of missionaries kind of go that route.
Mm-hmm.
Because there was a need. A lot of people want to learn English, and that they were able to reach a lot of people that way. And I just think there is a need in this community and a desire for this type of service. And I think that's one way that we can look at it. It's an opportunity just to reach people and meet people and offer service.
Yeah. The world, and particularly young people now, are groping for an identity. And I've been hearing more and more about this. I'm actually very optimistic about the future, because the young people I'm talking with, the next generation, 20-somethings particularly, they don't believe this thing that you can have a truth and you can have a truth and you can have a truth. They've decided that's a lie. And so they're searching for their truth. Unfortunately, a lot of them are finding some podcasts that are sending them down the wrong road. But a lot of people are finding faith. And so I think you just displaying faith, them feeling comfortable walking into a church. I grew up in the church, so I didn't have a real perspective, but we've talked to a lot of people lately, don't feel like they're worthy to walk in the doors, So you got to feel, like you're doing something positive by getting people involved. So thank you for saying that, Jesse. And so it's not like the whole group's behind it. Yeah, Rich.
One thing I thought of, I don't know if this was mentioned, was cooking or culinary skills.
They mentioned canning, but you're on a broader.
There's a movement now of women recognizing and wanting to be in the homemaker situation. So.
Well said. Yeah. Yeah. So you could just do a little fair of just changing oil for people and teaching them how, or teaching them how to cook, anyway. So great job. This one surprised me. We've never heard anything like this have you, the 30 congregations we worked with? Nothing quite like this. Yeah, thank you, Lisa. That's exactly what I'm thinking. And
Same with the scouting. I mean, that does exactly what everybody's talking about too. Gets kids together that aren't getting socialized. They're learning to sew to get one badge,
Yeah.
to hike to get another badge, to change. You know, that kind of is something too. The
yeah,
boys and girls.
and you don't have to come up with your own curriculum if you do something like the American Heritage Girls. I sponsored the troop, and we had about 40 at the height of it. Had about 40 girls, but we had a wave of probably 5 to 10 girls that were interested in our home congregation. They grew up, and as they grew up, we just didn't have anybody behind them, and so it stopped. But had a 10-year run, 40 different families in the building. They did start a trail life because they got more of but it's a Christian perspective, and it just it reinforced it. And the idea of this guy that wrote this book, Stan Grenberg, I like. He said, if you think about servant evangelism, which is what we're talking about, real ultimately, right, to win souls, you start out by doing their things in their places. So, like my example, where the school teachers are going into after-school programs to help mentor or help tutor math, for example. And then after a while, they started coming to be tutored in our place. We did their thing they needed in our place. And then before you know it, they want to come to our Bible study classes. So they're doing our things in our place. So there's phases that you can go through and be intentional about showing people who Jesus is, and the world needs it. The world needs it. Okay, so somebody want to maybe say a prayer for our lunch and for our rest of our day together? And then we need to be back probably right at 12:15, 12:20, if we can, to do our final goal for the day. Okay, who wants to?
All right, let's bow. Our Heavenly Father, we are thankful for this weekend. We thank you for bringing us all together and us thinking together on our plans for the future. We pray that our work that is done today is good and sends us in a good direction, and that we can serve this community and serve you in doing that. And thank you for this food and those who have prepared it as well. We pray that it will nourish your body. In Jesus' name, amen.